everybody, and today we are here with another board game review. Today we'll be reviewing Aftermath.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and today we will be telling you that why you should play Aftermath, an adventure game set in a post-apocalyptic world where something mysterious has happened. What?
Wait, we're all the humans.
Yes, all the humans have suddenly turned to dust. Thanos?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. So the premises of this game is very similar to the snap of what happened after the Thanos snap in the Avengers movies, but this game actually has nothing to do with it. It was just a coincidence that its story or its premise very much matched the what happened in the Avengers movie. Now, but what additional thing has happened is that the intelligence has somehow come into the animals and the rodents which are left behind rather than the missing humans. So now the rodents have to find ways to find food for themselves and build colonies, build devices for them because
Sir,
the humans are not there anymore to produce those goods for them. So they
there
are
are no
finding.
humans to produce shelters, no food, no filtered water. They have to find already filtered water by themselves.
This is a game by Jerry Hawthorne, who has previously made games like Stuffed Fables, Mystic Mice, which are in the same kind of series, same kind of concept, in which you are controlling either rodents or stuffed animals, and you have an adventure
I
book.
ate the stuffed animals once.
You have an adventure book which is going to take you through the story as well as different kind of missions, or
Not to
this
mention,
acts as the game board itself, and that's
yeah.
why these games are called adventure book games. Now there is a lot of things to go through this game, and we will not be able to cover each and everything, but we will be trying to give you most of the concepts of the game. This is a campaign based game which has some kind of legacy element. So that means whatever you do in one campaign may impact your next missions, your next resources. As compared to other legacy games, you will not be ripping off any cards. There is actually a discard deck. So this is an empty box right now in the start of the game. But whatever cards you don't need, you're going to or cannot play again, you're going to put them in this discard box. So once you're done, you can of course take them all back out and restart playing from the beginning as well. And how you will be tracking your progress through the campaign is first of all through this campaign tracker. Now these are dials which you are going to rotate to show different kind of stats for your colony. So all of these items except the timer one is going to remain from campaign to campaign. So the more, for example, food you forage in one mission is going to help you that you do need to collect lesser food for the population in your colony later on. The game comes with these 4 characters from in the game. It's a co-op game, so all the characters will be playing, helping each other out. You can pick any, and each one of them have their own special abilities, special starting items, which gives them unique flavor, and of course they have their own capabilities and a backstory which is going to give you what they can do better. So different characters are going to be good at different things in the game. So once you have decided, you can play it solo, you can play it multiple characters. Even if you have less number of players, you can still control multiple characters in the game, and the game's difficulty scales based on the number of characters you have in play. Then there is going to be a discovery deck. So this is kind of a legacy deck, you can say, which is going to give you new items,
It's gonna give you new missions.
new
Like-
missions, new buildings.
Actually, no, I will not be giving any spoilers. No
Yeah.
spoilers.
We will not give any spoilers, but as you progress through the game, you might be asked to actually pull things from this deck. So at that time, you will be looking through the cards. So it is going to progress your game or add more things to your game as well. Then the last thing is going to be this box represents your colony box. In the start, it's going to be empty. Your colony is bare bones, and as you progress through the campaign
Just
missions,
a few measly mice over here and there.
You're going to not only increase your population and food, but you're going to be making permanent buildings for your colony which go in this box, so that you know that which buildings you have built. There might be things, other things that will come up and will go in this box as well. I think we have covered all the boxes in the game. These boxes come
Off you
with
go,
the game.
child. Off you go, children.
Now, let's go through how the game actually works. First of all, there is an overall map of the whole city that you have, and in this map, you're going to start from A1. This is where your mice have their colony,
Abigail Lane. It's
Abigail
called.
Lane. And from there, you're going to move to different locations. The mission book and the mission that you're going to select is going to tell you, which brings us to these mission cards. So in each of the, whenever you're going to play session of the game, you're going to pick one main mission and one side mission. So you have these cards already available, and as you progress through and explore more story, you might get more and more mission cards that, okay, we have found something else, and now you have a new mission available. So you're going to
Why
pick,
don't you go embark on the rest of the journeys before you embark on your new one?
yeah. Since this is not a linear game, so you get to pick which mission you're going to do. It's up to
It's
you.
not really like most legacy games. Legacy games, they don't really have opinions or choices for you. They're more just like, yep, this is the only path. Come on, let's go. Come on.
Yeah, and for side mission as well, there might be some good things that happen to you if you do complete your side missions, and there can be some bad things as well, like lowering your morale if you are unable to complete your side missions. But these side missions are helpful in different ways, because they let you collect different selective items that you really want, or gather more food because you're running out of food. So these side missions are helpful in that. Now, once you have selected a main mission, it's going to tell you where you have to travel to go there. Once the game actually tells you where you have to go, you can pick to go on foot, which means anytime you move one of these grid on the grid, use your mouse tracker to see where your team is. You move, then the page number here is going to tell you in the adventure book where have you traveled to. So you will flip to that particular page number, and then once you are on that page, you're going to place your characters in the starting spawn point of what the number was here, and accordingly you're going to read the entries in the next adjacent page, and that's going to actually tell you what your goal might be in that mission. Sometimes once you are in a particular location, it might not be apparent that what do you have to do, but once you explore around, there might be places of interest to see. So you can see those symbols, you can go there, and then it will reveal more story that what are you supposed to do. There might be locations where you have to search for items. The game comes with different kind of search tokens which
Each
you
with
are
its
going
own
to
difficulty.
place.
Each with its own difficulty.
Yeah. So these search tokens, and you're going to do different kind of skill tests to actually identify that whether you were successful in searching for these items, and that's how mainly you're going to collect food, scrap, or different items. The search tokens are going to keep increasing in difficulty as you go through the missions, and the reward is going to increase as well. Now let's come to the skill test, because other than exploring around, the game is going to ask you for different kind of skill tests which work very similar to your regular Dungeons and Dragon like role-playing game skill tests, in which you will be rolling your dice, and based on the result and the stats of your character, you're going to get the results that whether you were successful or not. But the main element of this game which adds to the skill test as well as the other game elements are these cards, which are actually very similar to your playing cards. Is agility, which is green, and these different suits are going to tell you that, okay, what ability you can test. So for example, if I play a green agility card, This is going to help me do an agility test, which will add up in my white dice, whereas the black dice is for enemies. So the result of the dice plus my card values plus any inherent abilities of my character are going to add up, plus any of the items that I have equipped is going to give me my test results. So the more cards you play, the more chances of success you're going to have. Attacks are going to work in a similar way. When you're going to fight with different characters, it's going to be based on these cards as well. Now, a very cool feature of these cards is going to be that you can do combination of cards as well. How do combinations work?
Combinations usually work when you basically either match the color of what I call the base or the original card, or the number of the base or original card.
For example, if I have this 2 of green, then even though I might have a 2 red, but since the number is matching, so I can play this to increase the power of my agility because the number matched. So it has a symbol matching. You can use when using the agility symbol, you can use any number value, but an agility card you can add up, or you can add the another suits color card, but as long as it has the same value, and that lets you increase your success chances during fights. There are going to be different characters that pop up based on these encounter cards. The adventure book is either going to tell you exactly what enemies to put on the board, or it will tell you to pick an encounter card from this deck, which is going to generate a random enemy for you, and it's going to give you different kind of conditions, what has happened, and where to put the enemies, and what kind of loot you might get when you encounter, when you are able to successfully defeat those enemies. If you are unable to defeat and you run away, then these enemies actually go into the hunt area of our board, and what the hunt is going to indicate is that you have lost them for now, but there is a chance that on the next page or next location they are going to catch up to you. So that mechanism is there. You don't have to always fight, and you might have to pick your fights that, okay, when do I run away, because the odds are just not in my favor. Next, the enemies are also going to, how the enemies are going to activate is a very cool mechanism as well. If the next player picks up cards and they get a black card in their picked up cards, then not only their hand is reduced, but this acts as a threat card, which is going to go on this threat meter. And once actually these cards will keep coming up, and as soon as the threat level is equal to the number of enemies, so for example there were 3 enemies and there are 3 cards over here, then these enemies are going to activate. How you will track that is that for each enemy there is an enemy card which is going to be placed here. That is going to tell you that, okay, which enemy has what kind of threat level. On the enemy card itself there is going to be a value to show that,
which honestly it kind of displays how much of a threat they are.
Yeah, and what kind of action they are going to do, because normally the enemies will have either 1 or 2 type of, or even 3 type of different attacks, and based on the threat level they have, they are going to do that particular attack on you. Normally the higher the threat value card, 1, 2 or 3, the higher is going to be their attack.
Which basically means their attack is going to be more harder to defend.
Yeah. So that's also a slight puzzling element in the game, that whether you're going to try and kill those enemies or you are going to wait for the threat level to increase, because as soon as you defeat one enemy, then the other threat enemies are going to activate, because now the threat is equal to the number of enemies as well. So you will increase the chances of enemies taking a turn if you try to kill them very quickly. Which is very thematic as well, that, okay, if they see one of their friends get killed, then of course they are going to retaliate.
It's kind of realistic. I mean, it's common sense. If you saw one of your friends getting hurt, wouldn't you just...
Now, there is going to be situations when the condition is non-hostile or friendly as well. And when it is friendly, these threat cards still go on the track. But if there are ever 4 threat cards in the game,
Bye bye, you
then
don't exist.
something, it's called a surge, and something bad is bound to happen. Either the friend enemies or the characters that are on the board who were not attacking at that time and were just unknown strangers, they will become either hostile or something else bad will happen. It will increase or your time gets wasted. Something bad is supposed to happen whenever a surge happens.
But in most cases, at least the threat cards are gone, so yay.
Yeah, and once these activate, the threat cards go away, and next time when you will pick up new cards, again the threat starts building up. So hopefully that has given you an idea of how the game is going to work, how the combat is going to work. The combat is of course going to be based on both, you have melee attacks as well as range attacks. There is a plethora of item cards that you get to pick up, which are going to give you different kind of armors, better weapons, and you can equip them. You have to repair them, equip them, and repairing and equipping them is going to cost you scrap items which you are collecting as a resource. So you have to manage whether you want to save that scrap for permanent buildings in your colony, or you want immediate better weapons or armor that you can use in the game. The game is going to have different kind of temporary effects applied on you. Some enemies will give you a very bad,
Actually, all of them are bad.
yeah, effects are bad, are going to give you effects like rattle, which are going to reduce the things you can do on your turn.
Wait, what
Another
about
way a
Yes.
variety is added in these maps is using these.
environment cards?
So these can be things like there can be rodent traps on the map. There can be sentries. Sentries mean that you have to play hide and seek with these characters.
Kind of like
And-
tiptoe, just tiptoe. Be sneaky.
Yeah, sneaking missions are going to come. Then there are going to be some low visibility missions. They have used kind of household items to make weapons, like toothpicks to make crossbows, things like that. It comes with even a giant cat miniature, which is true to scale, so it's going to eat these rodents, and that
This is the
serves
biggest
as the
baddie. This is like the
biggest
big
baddie. Yeah, her name is Smokey. Now
I
these
don't know if you see but
these
they-
miniatures don't come painted. I have painted these miniatures, but they already come with a wash in the game, and that wash looks beautiful. So even if you
The
don't
art.
paint them, even if you don't paint them, it creates those shadows and details pop out, and the wash figurines are going to look beautiful as well, right out of the box as well.
Okay.
Then
Yes.
the
Bye.
cards are good, nice, artwork is nice. The overview maps, you're going to get a lot of maps as compared to static boards, and that's why I love adventure book games, because they add a lot to the game. If they were using static board, one game board, then it would be just one map. But here, you just turn a page and a new map comes in. You turn a page, a new
Wow!
map, and that makes it a lot more playable, because
And
you are exploring new
specifically-
locations.
But the artwork, it actually really makes it seem as if something bad has happened, as if the humans truly have disappeared. I mean, otherwise, why would there be a rusting car here?
Yeah, and the plantation has growth. So overall, the game does give you immersion to actually pull you into the theme of the game,
The story is
of this
also very good.
post-apocalyptic setting. Now, let me come to the bad things about this game. Starting with the rule book. Now, I have never complained about a rule book in any game, except maybe slightly with Undaunted, but in this game, this rule book is horrible. Horrible. It's so horrible that you will not get a sense of how do I play this game. There are
Let me just say, I think we played the game incorrect probably 3 or 4 times.
more than that.
Okay, 5 or 6 times, who knows?
Because every
We
time
lost track.
we would try to see that, okay, how does this work? And the
On our
rule book
very
doesn't
first
even
game.
say anything about it. It starts to look right. There are enough pictures in it, but it's actually those that how does an actual level work out that rulebook never explains. And I can understand the reason behind it, because This adventure book is supposed to act as a compendium to this basic rules. So once you read the rule, you go to the storybook, and the storybook should be telling you something more that you can do. So for
Okay.
example, there are driving missions, and you don't get anything about, okay, there are different modes of traveling. This rule book doesn't tell you how to travel via other methods. Figure it out yourself. It doesn't explain. So the adventure book is supposed to tell you. But since the things are non-linear, so you might never actually see that. And many rules are not even explained anywhere, and you're supposed to make things up. Because the concept of this game, I think, in the developer's mind was never about very hard and fast rules. It was just about go and explore. I have given you an RPG rule set, and you explore on yourself and make up whatever you want. And
I
that
mean, it's
doesn't work.
fantasy. Can you really blame them?
And that doesn't really work for the game itself, because people want a clear rule set that they can follow. That do I win or do I lose in this situation?
Calm down.
Secondly, then there are these fiddly rules that, for example, I told you a really cool feature of how you can combo these cards. But when it comes to crossing these colored lines on the map, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, so we can do it every time, but there is an exception that you cannot do it while using movement. For movement, you can combine any color of the card, but when crossing a colored line, you cannot do either the
Specifically have this.
different colors or even a wild card. You cannot use it. Okay, so there are so many exceptions on how you can use these cards and when you cannot use these cards, that these rules are fiddly. It's not easy. I would have preferred they kept just one rule. Okay, use wild however you want, use combo of cards however you want, whether you're doing a skill test or movement, and it would have made life much more easy. And the difficulty would have been upped via other means rather than the gameplay elements itself.
I'm watching you.
Then third problem that I have with this game, which was easiness of this game. I understand this is supposed to be an adventure game, but even once we didn't lose any mission in this game. For a co-op game, my criteria is that at least you should fail 50% of your missions. But here, we completed, I didn't even fail a single time.
Of
So
course, we
no
would
matter
die here and there.
what items you pick up, no matter what you do, you are going to win the map. And I do understand that the game is trying to make you fail forward, which means you might have some bad conditions on your board, not have collected enough food or things, but it will still take you to the next mission and it will still let you pass. But I don't want that. I do want the missions to fail so that I get to replay it and find better ways on closing the mission out. And the
My thought
last
doesn't make sense.
problem,
This game doesn't make sense.
last problem that I have with this game is that its non-linear nature led to a non-climatic ending. Can lead to a non-climatic ending. What that means is the overall campaign finishes as soon as you complete the individual missions related to these rodents, these characters that you are playing. And that's it. Since you can do them in any order, so you might have selected some harder missions before, completed them, and now you just completed something very easy like completing a population or unlocking something, and that's it. You're done. The campaign finished without any proper ending. So what I had to do was that we played, even though our game was officially finished, we played through some of the missions, and what seemed like a harder mission, I kept it for the last and said, okay, this is going to be our last super mission, and we had a lot of fun in that mission.
Yeah, it was actually like the ending of a movie.
Yeah, it was challenging and it took us through,
It
and
was adrenaline-ish.
yeah, and I would have hoped that actual rules made you play one final mission which tried to conclude something in the story at the end, and that would have put a better ending, a sense of accomplishment in this game as well. Now, irrespective of all these problems, we had such a fun time playing this game.
I gotta
Irrespective
say,
of
it has a few problems with its non-linear nature, But overall, it's still amazingly fun.
So irrespective of all the issues that we had with this game, it was super fun to play. The adventure was fun. It was a real family friendly dungeon crawler kind of game where you are having an adventure and collecting things and just having a fun time.
I would give it 9 out of 10.
All right, so for me, it would be around 8 out of 10. A very good game. A few flaws which could be easily fixed. A second edition would really suit this game. So that's it for our review of Aftermath. It was a long review because there's a lot of things to cover in this game. But hopefully that gave you an idea of why you should be playing this game.